Welcome to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. I'm your host, Fabian motherfucking Ojeda, and I don't know shit, but that's okay. All right, let's get this shit started. Thank you everybody for listening to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. Hope you all enjoyed episode number 105 with the illustrious Whitey back again for the umpteenth time. Definitely, we'll have him back. He'll be on episode 110 and beyond that. Get your fix of our good old friend Whitey there. But I'm back, and we're back today with a brand new guest, and he's part of a duo out there in the UK. So I woke up a little early here to welcome our new guest. But I have DJ Casper, one half of the Chalk and Cheese Show. How you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm doing great. How are you? Thank you for having us.
I'm doing all right. I'm doing good. I skipped breakfast for this show. I'm expecting a good conversation there, DJ Casper.
Well, I can't promise, but I'll try my best.
Now, first things first, I was like, I heard chalk and cheese. I'm like, that does not sound appetizing at all, right? and I thought about it. I'm like, it sounds kind of like, here in America we have like the Chuck E. Cheese. It's like a kid's restaurant with ironically with a rat as like the mascot. Okay, it's not too enticing either, but I'm like, what is chalk and cheese? And I thought to myself, that's got to be a phrase that we just don't use over here in the US.
Yeah, so here in the UK, if something is, say if you have two people like myself and DJ Charcoal, it's chalk and cheese. So it's kind of like the polar opposite. So one is so the best way to describe me and Charcoal is the fact that he's the sensible one and I'm not so much the sensible one. So he's the one that kind of tries to keep a lid on everything, and I'm the explosive one. So maybe you've got a good deal with the explosive one today.
Good, yeah. I mean, I figured it was like some sort of expression or idiom I've never heard before. I'm like, and that's kind of like the whole thing with my show, though. The Ignorance is Strength podcast. I don't mind not knowing something. I'm gonna ask a question. I'm gonna figure it out. So I've already accomplished that early in the morning. There we go. I feel good for the day. I learned something.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But so it's basically your podcast. You've got polar opposite personalities going on. That's a good balance, right? How does that dynamic usually work out for you?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I can get really irate over something. So I'm the one that kind of asks all the difficult questions, the questions that people kind of want to know the answers to. And Simon, he's kind of more like the one that does research, and he has a little black book and he has his questions already laid out half the time. With myself, I just jump on and I let the conversation roll. And if I want to know something, I kind of ask what I want to know. And so our show is very kind of, it's personal, and also we do have a lot of banter. We do have a lot of jokes. We're very laid back, easygoing, and I just hope that people enjoy the content that we actually put out. Like, so far so good. We've had really good feedback so far, and all the artists that we do interview do want to come back and stuff like that. So you might be familiar with a guy. We actually interviewed Larry Hankin the other week. So you're probably very familiar with Larry. And we was emailing after the show, and he goes, guys, I would love to come back to your show. He's probably one of the funniest guys I've ever spoke to. So big shout out to Larry.
Yeah, for sure. He's doing the rounds. I'm hoping to have him on soon. I'll definitely reach out to him. But a lot of people started podcasts in the US, I noticed, and I'm wondering if it's as prevalent in the UK, because every other person I know now has a podcast. And I want to say that's because we were in the whole pandemic and everything. People just started getting bored. That's why I started it. I thought, like, I can do this. I listened to enough podcasts. I can hold a conversation, and I really just want to do something fun and that'll take up some time, because we didn't really have much to do. When did you all start? When did you and your partner start?
Oh Jesus! So during the pandemic, it was funny how me and Simon have actually met because during the pandemic, I started off my own online radio station, and we was scouting for DJs online, and actually a DJ Charcoal, he was actually DJing online. I thought, let me reach out to him. Like he's okay, and let's get him on the radio. So we did that, and so we done the whole radio thing for about a year, and then the whole concept, it was just me and Simon. We have weird conversations on the phone, and we actually come up with the concept of, okay, so we have a radio station, we have listeners, why not just talk instead of everything doesn't have to be about music all the time. So we thought, okay, yeah, let's give it a crack. So this was after the whole coronavirus pandemic in the UK. So we actually started late. I suppose if you want to look at it that way, with podcasting, we've been running for about 8 months now. And believe it or not, I don't know if people can tell, but which I hope they can't. But me and Simon, we've only actually met each other in person once.
Oh, wow.
That's it, because I live in the south of England and he lives in the north of England. So it's about a 3.5 hour journey from each other. So we met each other once, we hit it off, and the podcast is what it is today. And I just hope that people enjoy what we do. I mean, we're very popular in the US. Don't ask me why. Maybe because he's Australian and I'm English. I don't know whether that just works.
Is that where he's from? He's from Australia?
Australia, yeah. He's from Australia. Yeah.
That is kind of unique there, because I thought you were both from the UK. I didn't realize Yeah,
no, we both live in the UK, but originally Simon's from Australia. I think he's from I don't want to get it wrong, but I think he's from Perth, or Melbourne. Is one or the other, I believe. I could be completely wrong.
Okay. So you're both in the UK, but I got you. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, other than that, I mean, you mentioned that, you don't really have like a theme as far as like, it doesn't have to be about music. Is there any sort of like specific, theme that you follow, or is kind of like my podcast? I just love good interviews. I just love good conversations with people that are interesting. I mean, it's as generic a description as you can get, but to me, it's the most fun.
When we first started the podcast, we was just two dudes just talking about whatever was relevant in the world, and we give our brutally honest opinions on it. With like the whole coronavirus featured very heavily when we first started, especially with myself. I couldn't let it go, because some of the decisions that were being made over in the UK, I just thought was just completely outrageous. And then we thought to ourselves, okay, let's kind of step it up a little bit. So we actually introduced a psychic medium on the show. And so she come on the show and she gave like tarot card readings and like spiritual readings to people. And she was actually from the US as well. So that was a massive hit with everybody. I remember once we broadcast at 8 o'clock in the evening, and it's normally an hour and a half show. So we normally used to finish about 9:30 in the evening. We were still going at 2 a.m.
Wow.
So it was kind of like a 6-hour long show, because every time that we wanted to go, new people just popped up wanting to talk into the psychic medium. So we thought, yeah, man, we're onto a good thing here. But we didn't just want to make the podcast about that. So we said to the medium, okay, just come on once a month, do your thing, and just to freshen it up a little bit. And then after, for some reason, on Instagram, we just kept getting messages from music artists saying, please let me be on your show. Like, can we be interviewed? I want the UK to listen to my music, hear my music. We was like, okay, yeah, we'll give that a go. We're very easygoing guys anyway. We'll just give anything a go once. And the whole unsigned artist thing actually worked really well for us. And we've had some really, really talented people on the show. And we've had a woman from the UK. She was #1 in the iTunes country music charts. So it's kind of developed like from kind of like middle of the road, kind of just starting out talent to kind of established artists that have actually established themselves in the UK. So when we thought that when we saw that it was actually going really well, we thought, let's just stick with it. Let's stick with it. And we did stick with it. We're still sticking with it. We have a show tonight as well, but tonight is very different because we have a comedian on the show and we have a DJ on the show. So we're just trying to mix things up as well.
Yeah.
Regarding the kind of content that we put out, but predominantly, we are an unsigned artist podcast, and that's what we advertise ourselves as. And we're getting really, really good feedback from all the artists that we do actually interview.
Yeah, I love that. I love music. You know, I think I've had a few musicians on, a few bands and everything, and every time it's really interesting, and it kind of sparks something in me just because I am a musician, you know, and I just haven't practiced it in so long, you know, but it's discovery, you know, it's finding something new, finding something that people haven't heard before, and that's exciting to me. But I also like that you mentioned, you know, you have your recurring medium on the show, because that to me speaks of, you know, while yes, you want to have fresh new faces on the show all the time, people like familiarity too, right? And they want to see things that are kind of, you know, that are recurring and that make a comeback every now and then. I do the same thing, you know, on my podcast, where it's really funny. Every 10 episodes, we have what we call the shit show, where it's just myself and three friends that just talk about everything and anything, and people really seem to like those episodes because they like the camaraderie and everything. You know, they like the banter that we have back and forth, and it's familiar, you know. So that's kind of what came to my mind when I heard you talk about your recurring tarot reader.
Yeah, for sure. I think people like familiar faces on the show, and they like to relate to certain people as well. Some people that we've had on the show, people just don't really relate to, and they can't really click with. So I think when you actually have that person who can offer your viewer something, then it works. It just works. But on the other hand of that, if you do have the same kind of people that appear on your show, you have to keep it fresh, and that's what we learn very, very quickly. You can't just have the same faces on a show just because people like them or they like the sound of their voice. They've actually got to have a valid and decent points to actually bring to the show, because if they're just there just to be there, there's no point in them being there, in my opinion.
Right, definitely. Now, you know, you mentioned earlier on, you know, Larry Hankin and whatnot, but you've had quite a variety of guests, and at some point you managed to have the singer of the Goo Goo Dolls on your show.
That's correct. Yes, that was kind of like the first big interview that we had. So we had Robbie. He's the founder and the bassist of the Goo Goo Dolls, and I have to say he was such a nice guy. And me and Simon was like, okay, like, shit's just got real now. We're interviewing a guy that's been nominated for about 10 or 15 Grammys. They had one of the biggest songs of the 90s ever, and that song is still very relevant today. What are we going to say to him? That was the first thing that was going through our mind, like, because we had to ask him engaging questions, and we felt that we had to be engaging for him, otherwise he would just get bored and he'll cut the interview short. Yeah, but in fact, we actually had to cut the interview because we had things to do. We had things to do, as harsh as it sounds. But yeah, interviewing an internationally known band, it was brilliant. It was a great experience. And if people do want to see that interview, then they can just go onto our website and watch that interview.
How did that come about? Did you guys reach out to him? Did he reach out to you?
So we actually know a woman in the States, and she worked. She actually gave Robbie his first job. Wow. So she wanted to start a podcast herself, and her first podcast was interviewing Robbie from the Google Dolls, and she said, "Would you guys love to come onto the podcast and help me interview Robbie?" And we was like, "Yeah, it's like a no-brainer." So yeah, that come about like that. I believe in life. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And if you know the right people and the right contacts, then they scratch yours and you scratch theirs. That's the way that so we was very lucky to get Robbie. I think if we was to reach out ourselves and ask him for an interview, I don't think that would have ever happened. I just think we just was in the right place at the right time for that interview to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's still pretty cool. I think, you're mentioning one of the biggest songs ever. You're talking about Iris, right? Was it Iris?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that style of music, but I know that song. If I heard it, I know exactly who it is, and I might sing along to it a little bit, even though I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows the words to that song, whether you like it, whether you like that music or not. It's just one of them songs that are just implanted in your brain from the first time you hear it.
Mm-hmm. Now with a lot of podcasters, again, it's such a saturated, field out there, right? And again, everybody has a podcast. Everybody's trying to say like, hey, mine's special, mine's different. A lot of people just, are hobbyists. For me, for example, I do it for fun. I'm not looking to be like a Joe Rogan or anything like that. Or, I mean, when it stops being fun, I'll stop doing it, and that's pretty much it.
Exactly.
But as of right now, I'm just really having a good time talking to people and people like yourself, from somewhere I've never even been, and we're 8 hours apart and here we are, in real time having a conversation. So I find that part really interesting.
Exactly.
But what are your goals as a podcast, right? What do you hope to do with it? Have you started to monetize it? Or is that a goal of yours as well?
Yeah, I think monetizing is one of our priorities, I believe. At the minute, we've only been going around 7 to 8 months. So we're just like, for me, we still have our training wheels on. So we learn each and every time that we do it. So we're just getting onto all the different platforms and stuff like that, because essentially we just literally do a Facebook Live every single Wednesday. But yeah, well, with the podcast, I mean, the podcast has been absolutely crazy. Like, I never thought that we'd be going to Switzerland next month to cover a album launch party for one of the artists that we covered on the show. And I never thought that a magazine would approach us to ask us for them to do a story on us and stuff like that. I don't know what it is with the Chalk and Cheese show. I think people just seem to like it. It's whether they like our content or whether they like us, or I have no idea. But for us, it just seems to work. I mean, the ultimate goal for the show is to take it as far as we actually can take it. Who knows where that might be. But in the short term of the 8 months, I think we've done pretty well for ourselves, considering that we'll be going to Switzerland, like I say, next month, and being approached by a magazine. And it's great when people want you. Let's say, for instance, with the Switzerland show, it's great because all your expenses are paid for. Where me and Simon literally haven't had to pay for anything. So big shout out to Samora's management on that one. So literally all we have to do is turn up, do some interviews with some very well-known reggae artists, and enjoy the couple of days that we're going to be there for. Like, first day we'll go sightseeing, second day we'll get down to work, and on the second day in the evening we'll just party. It's great. It'll be great.
What's the music scene like right now in the UK? You mentioned reggae. I didn't really consider that reggae was part of the scene there,
yeah, massive. Depending on where you are in the UK. So, like in Birmingham, for instance, and places like that are kind of more up north. Reggae scene is massive. But obviously, now you kind of reggae and dancehall music is kind of mixed with Afrobeat. So Afrobeats music is very popular here in the UK at the moment. But predominantly, obviously we have our Ed Sheerans, and we have all different kind of artists like that, but the dance scene is very popular. R&B, nobody's really producing it here in the UK anymore. That's why I love connecting with US artists, because R&B and hip hop, that's where it's at in the US at the moment for me. But the music scene is very diverse in the UK. And believe it or not, it's very saturated with US artists as well. It's so saturated with US artists. But yeah, I mean, we do all right with the music over here. People seem to like it.
And I believe it's like very cyclical too, because every now and then you'll see like a great era of like metal, right? And you'll see all kinds of brand new metal bands popping up. And I thought that was like maybe, what was it, 10 years ago, where you just had like bands like, Bullet for My Valentine popping up and things like that. And that was a great, time for music. Yeah, did you notice that it's kind of like cyclical like that? Or I mean,
yeah, I mean, in the charts, if you look at the UK top 40 now, there's not a rock band in sight, I don't believe.
Right.
So in the UK, it's very kind of like, if you like rock music, that's your section. If you like R&B, that's your section. You like pop, that's your section, and etc. So there are certain groups of individuals and people that just like one style of genre of music. Like if you was to play any of the top 40 to a metal fan, they'll say, "What is this shit?" For sure. But the way that I look at it is, I respect everybody's individual musical taste. I'm no one to judge. If that's what you like, that's what you like. You're not going to like what I like. I'm possibly won't like what you like. But we're not here to judge. We've had rock bands on our show before. I don't personally listen to rock, but DJ Charcoal, he's dabbled in kind of like the rock, and he listens to some certain rock. So we're kind of very diverse in that way anyway. Like we don't just stick to, we had country artists on, for instance. I don't know nothing about country music, but if I hear,
that's kind of different, right? For country making its way into like different, well, I would say, like, was it like American country, or is it just, I mean,
yeah, it was very. So one of the artists that we had on, Laura Ashton, she's very influenced. You can hear it in her music that she's very influenced by US country. But she's from up north in the UK. If you talk to her, she just has a normal English accent. But when she sings, on the other hand, you'd be like, shit, is this girl from Tennessee, or is she like, well, where is she from? It's kind of like a mind fuck, and that's what I kind of like about the people that we actually interview. Like some of the US artists, they talk more polite than I do. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? So, and these are rappers, and they're talking about women and money and whatever they decide to rap about. But yeah, I love the show just because it's full of surprises, and you never know what you're going to get. Like as soon as we hit record, we have no idea what's going to be said. And that's what I love about it. It's kind of like the element of surprise. So you feel like you're going to go in one direction, but the show might completely go in another direction. Then you've got to think fast. Okay, so where are we going with this, and how are we going to make it work? But that's what I love about podcasting as well. You get to meet so many different interesting people. And from all kind of walks of life. It's very strange though, because we talk about it a lot on our show, and we don't really get many UK artists on our show. They're very hard to come by, because if you say, oh yeah, we're from the UK, would you like to jump on the show for an interview? No, they won't ever get back to you, or they'll say, yeah, we'll come on the show. And then when it's actually showtime, they don't show.
Right.
And then you're like, yeah. Now I've got a half-hour gap to fill. What am I going to fill it with? Do you know what I mean? So I've noticed in the US, just talking to US artists, and in the UK, nobody supports each other. Nobody. So our UK, to be fair, we don't even have a UK following. We have a US following. So the US are supporting us, and the UK support the US. So it's kind of like the flip reversal. It's very bizarre, and it's very strange. And but it's the UK's loss if they don't want to listen to us.
Yeah,
we'll find another country that does.
There's
many.
It's very funny because I look at the stats all the time and I'm like, why do I have a following in Indonesia and India? I'm like, they can't even understand me over there, and somehow it's always like, oh, you have, X amount, 1,000 popped up in India that listen to me. I'm like, well, dang. I'm like, that's either like, I don't know if they have that many bots over there or what's going on, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where me and Simon need to kind of step up our game and kind of know where our target audience is. Because then maybe if we know where our target audience is, then maybe we can kind of accommodate the show to them or for them, essentially. Obviously not change it up too much, but maybe we can chuck in some relevant facts of wherever the majority of the people are listening from. So yeah, I think that like I say, I believe that the Chalk and Cheese show still has its training wheels on, but they will be released very, very soon. Okay. I'm sure.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, we're looking forward to it. That over here. Now, I do want to say, and this is just from my last experience having a UK guest on before. Like, I like the subtle differences. I like talking about the subtle differences between the US and the UK. And I had somebody on from Wales like a long time ago, and we were just talking about like some random shit, like like what the McDonald's is like over there as opposed to what it's like over here. What politics is like over there as opposed to over here. I remember he was telling me, the politics over here is it's not very scandalous. Like something happens in the US, everybody hears about it. It's very it's very scandalous, but in the UK, the biggest thing you'll get is maybe like an argument between two people. And he was talking about like, just like the different things that they serve at McDonald's. I'm like, man, this is just like everyday stuff. I'm like, I don't know why that got me so interested, but have you been to the US or do you know much about the US?
Never been to the US. The only thing that I see on regarding the United States is via the news. I know it sounds cliche, but movies, sitcoms. That's all I kind of know about the US. Have we been invited to the US since doing the show? So many times. So many times. We actually got invited to New Jersey last week to come and do some coverage for somebody. But it's not just as easy as that. Okay, like I can't say to my wife, okay, see you later, darling. I'll be back in a week.
Right. Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Me and Simon, we both had kids. We both have full-time jobs. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to be able to be in that situation where we can just say, okay, girls, like, see you in a week. We'll be back with a big wad of cash. But no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that at all. But yeah, essentially, just going back to your point that you made earlier on, I think that's where we want to go. I think the ultimate goal for me, especially, is to quit my 9-to-5 and do this for a living. I would love to do this for a living, to start making some money and travel the world for free, essentially. Yeah, that's where I would like to be with the show, and I'm sure Simon would kind of agree with me and just, it's all about exposure at the end of the day, isn't it? If you stay in one bubble, then you're not going to get noticed. And this is what we say to our artists. They say, oh yeah, like the music scene in the US is so saturated and we can't get heard because some of the artists are so talented. We're like, mate, why are you not signed? Why are you not signed? And they always come back with, it's too saturated. The music scene is too saturated in the US. And we say to them, well, if you think outside your comfort zone and maybe move to another state or get your music heard in Europe, I think the most advice that I could give to any artist from the US is explore Europe, get your music heard in Europe. Like, don't worry about the US because it's so saturated. But if people in Europe like your music, you will get heard and you will be bigger in Europe than you are in your own country. It's facts. And I think, and I think that's the kind of the case that we have with the Chalk and Cheese show. We're kind of known in the US. Like, not everybody would have heard the name Chalk and Cheese. Don't get me wrong. But but we're definitely more known in the US than we are here in the UK, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean that's good advice. I think if you're not making it one place, go try another place. And I've seen that with a lot of big bands. You're right. Like well, in the US, people won't consider this a big band, but they had a big, huge hit in the early 2000s. The Bloodhound Gang. I don't know if you've heard the Bloodhound Gang before, but
I haven't personally, no.
So they have that song that says, you and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals. So
okay. Yeah, I know that song. I know.
Everybody knows that song, right?
Yeah.
And so they were, they had moderate success in the US, right? But after that, single, they weren't going to beat it, right? And so they started really kind of hovering around in like Germany, right? And they're huge in Germany. They're like a stadium act in Germany, right?
Yeah.
And so here in the US, they might, I don't even think they'll sell out like a small venue these days, but in Germany, they'll sell out a whole stadium, And so you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and this is we pretty much say it week in, week out. If it's not working, then just broaden your horizon and see what's out there. Don't be scared. If you never take the plunge, you'll never know. Like if you have nothing, you're not losing anything in the US. So the only thing that you could do by leaving the US market is to gain. Surely you can't lose anymore if you're already down. Mm-hmm. If you're down, the only way is up, right?
Right.
So you might as well just explore everywhere that you can. Just who cares if you could be massive in China, you could be massive in, I don't know, like you say, India, Indonesia, these small little countries, even little islands, like you might be massive, but in the US you're getting no love. But but if your music's good and your content's good, you're going to get love from somewhere for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now. Okay, here I'm just gonna have some fun with this, right? Just because I love talking about different cultures and whatnot, and especially foods. I love cooking, and my sister just took a trip recently to London, and I know she's a picky eater, right? And I thought, since I'm gonna have somebody on from the UK, I'm gonna ask about these foods, right? Now,
so I'm actually from London, so I can actually relate.
Oh, good, because I'm gonna ask it. Is this really what you all eat, or you just serve it to unsuspecting tourists?
Hit me with it. Yeah.
Haggis.
Haggis is a Scottish dish.
Okay, that's a Scottish.
Yeah,
it's not okay.
English. Yeah. So, no, I'll take a hard pass on that one for sure.
Right. Okay. Good. At least you're closer to it, and like, because I had to look it up. I'm like, what is haggis? I'm like, oh hell no. Like I'm not. I'm not a picky eater. I'll try a lot of things, but I'm like haggis. Like I was reading the ingredients. It's basically a balloon full of kidney meat, right? Or full of like organ meat, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like they kind of have like I don't even know what's in it. All I know is it's stuffed in like the inner lining of a sheep's stomach.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know, and that's enough for me.
Right?
No chance. No chance. I would not be putting that in my mouth. No way.
Yeah,
my body wouldn't even allow me to digest it. I don't think.
And it's a bunch of like like I said, organ meats. She's apparently got liver, heart, lungs. I'm like, why would I want to eat that?
Yeah, it just doesn't sound very appetizing at all.
And then they throw oatmeal in there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But okay, all right. This one I know you'll know, right? And you all kind of do the same thing. So, black pudding.
Okay, black pudding. You're actually talking to the right person because my day job, I'm a chef, so I serve black pudding every day. Okay, so black pudding is pig's blood. It's pig's blood mixed with some like herbs and stuff like that, and it comes in. Generally, it comes in like a round disc, and then we'll just fry it off, and then you'll eat it. But that's all black pudding is. It's pig's blood. I won't touch it personally. It doesn't look very appetizing because you have black pudding, and then you also have white pudding as well.
What's the white pudding?
Very similar to black pudding. I believe it's just white. It's just white. But yeah, there's two different varieties of black pudding. But people eat black pudding over here for breakfast, so it's a part of breakfast.
Yeah, because my sister's a very picky eater. I'm like, how do you eat haggis and black pudding, and you won't even touch like a fish stick, like, come on, But I'm like, I had to throw it out there. I'm like, I know, I'm not gonna blame you for the haggis. That's fine.
Yeah, no. That's Scotland. That's got Scotland's name written all over it.
Yeah. But yeah, is there anything that that you all point to and look at the U.S. and be like, how can you do that, or how can you eat that, or how can you support that?
See, I've always wanted to try a sloppy Joe for sure, and meatloaf. I've wanted to try that. The only thing that I really can't get my head around is portion sizes. I can't get my head around the portion sizes. Like, fuck. Like if we order a large meal from McDonald's, for instance, I think it's only like half a liter of drink. It's something like that. So 0.5 mils. But in the US, I know they do it like gigantic, right? Yeah. So like a large Coke, probably me and my wife could probably split that between us. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it like portion sizes. Wow, man. Like, but then again, I've always wanted to go to a cookout. We don't have cookouts here in the UK. We have barbecues, but we don't have like them big cookouts where you have like the mac and cheese and you have the ribs and the chicken and everything like that. For us, like, we're quite boring here in the UK. I'm not gonna lie. Like, our general barbecue is burgers, sausage, chicken, like maybe some like pork chops or lamb chops or something like that. We're not very adventurous, but the US barbecues, they look amazing.
Yeah, so now you're talking to the right person, because I actually sold barbecue for a little bit. My specialty is pork ribs, and I don't know if y'all ever had good pork ribs over there, but you gotta slow smoke them, right? And if you have a nice smoker, right, put those ribs in there for a good 4 or 5 hours, right? And obviously you use different methods and everything along the way, but good 4 or 5 hours, those are killer, man.
Yeah, but I can imagine they're just gonna like melt in your mouth, and you don't really have to chew it, or you can just literally take it straight off the bone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that's the type of thing that we don't do here. Like, smoker, like if you say to somebody in the UK, do you own a smoker? They were like, no, I have a barbecue, don't have a smoker. To be honest, I don't even think many UK households would even know how to operate a smoker, not alone cook with one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, what, I think it became a really big trend here too recently. Again, during the pandemic, everybody I know all of a sudden started experimenting with smoked meats. I'm like, and I started doing the same. I actually wanted to be I'm a little bit crazy, and I obsess over things. And anytime I want to be the best, I'm going to do it over and over and over again. And so I literally smoked meats for like 30 days in a row when I got my smoker. And I'm like, I'm going to find a way to make these recipes mine and make them the best, right? And I learned how to do, a good tri-tip, a good, like I said, barbecue pork ribs, and the secret. I hate when people just dunk things in barbecue sauce. I'm like, that's not good barbecue. You have to literally get that smoke in there. Or if you like charcoal, get the charcoal in there, right? But you have to get that flavor, and then whatever you're cooking has to have a nice little char on the outside, but it can't be dry on the inside, right? So it's a delicate balance.
Exactly. There's no worse a feeling than having a steak and it's just dry all the way through, and then you have to put like gravy on it or something like that. No, a steak should just be nice and brown on the outside and just so juicy in the middle. Like, again, steak shouldn't be one of them meats that you should have to chew for very long. It should just be kind of like maybe 5 to 10 chews, swallow, enjoy it, done.
Wait, do y'all do like medium rare over there, or mostly, or is it mostly like well done?
So in my kitchen, it could go anything between a blue steak to a well done steak. So however, like my customers want it to be cooked, and that's how it will be cooked.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, like, I don't know why, but well, I do know why, because there used to be more diseases that people were paranoid about before. But yeah, I used to think I hated steak when I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
You know why? Because I was raised to eat it well done. I'm like, now that I know what a good steak is like, I'm like, I can't believe I didn't like steak. Like, but if you have it well done all the time, that it'll drive you to the point where you don't like steak.
Yeah. To be fair, I was brought up the same way. Everything was well done in my house. So even now in adulthood, I eat my steak well done. I very rarely eat steak because now I find if I have it cooked anything under well done, my stomach can't handle it. It literally can't handle like the blood and stuff like that. So yeah, I think my parents fucked me up there for sure.
That's all right. I hope one day if you do venture over to the U.S., you get that cookout that you're looking for, man, that barbecue, because that's something everybody has to experience at some point, because you talked about that.
I mean, I briefly experienced it because I actually emigrated to the Caribbean. So I actually lived in the Caribbean for 1 year. So they actually, like, I see the whole process from them killing the animal to like plucking it, to cleaning it, to cooking it. And it was delicious. So good. Like, it's probably some of the best chicken I've ever had in my life there. But yeah, I need that authentic American taste in my mouth for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, DJ Casper, is a good kind of, shooting the shit there at the end a little bit, just randomly. But, talking about your podcast, I wish you all a lot of success with that. And it looks like you're headed that way. So, keep that going. And other than that, is there anything else you want to throw out there, or where people can find you?
Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram at The Chalk and Cheese Show. You can find us on Facebook again, The Chalk and Cheese Show. You can also visit our website, which is www.thechalkcheeseshow.com, where you can see all our interviews, and then we have like a hot list playlist where all the like hottest tracks in the UK at the moment and from around the world. Yeah, and if any of your listeners or any music artist or just anybody that has a story, please feel free just to give us a DM on Instagram or Facebook, and we will listen to your story for sure. I mean, yeah, we're very open people and we're very friendly people. So if you want to jump on the ride with us, for sure. But I have to say a massive thank you to Ignorance is Strength, your podcast, for having us. Unfortunately, Simon, I will say his name, Simon, he couldn't join us today. One, he had just woke up, which I'm very, very surprised at. And two, he had to pick up the kiddos from school. So yeah, maybe next time Simon can join us. But yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed our chat, and I wish you all the best with your podcast.
Definitely. Thank you very much. And for everybody listening at home, I appreciate it. Thank you. Fuck you and good night. Subscribe to the Ignorance is Strength podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Like, follow, and share on Facebook and Instagram at Ignorance is Strength Podcast, and on Twitter at The Ignorance Pod.